Twist of Fate Saturday the 5th of March 2022 full update. Make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell to get notified for more updates like this. Without wasting your time, let's start our today update. Gaurav asks media if they saw how she reacted, started breaking the things, is so aggressive, though she looks simple and innocent. He says, I am a small businessman who came to do business, but I didn't know that my partner will do this. The reporter asks if he knew that Pragya was married. Gaurav says, I don't want to talk about her personal matter. Other reporter asks what will be his plan of action. He says he has filed the FIR and trust the law, that they will support truth. He says the men are taught to respect women, and likewise women shall also respect men. Their respect is also equally important. Alia and Tanu smiles. He requests media to support truth and says it is the fight of all the men who have faced molestation and asks for their support. Alia and Tanu smirk and sign him. Dida asks Rageshwari Devi, how was her Vaishno Devi visit? She asks if she goes often. Rageshwari Ji says she goes whenever Mata comes. Riya and Prachi comes there. Pallavi introduces Riya as Badi Bahu and Prachi as Choti Bahu. Riya says Namaste, while Prachi bends down and touches Rageshwari and Sharda Ji. Riya thinks Prachi has touched their feet, and increased her number. Rageshwari blesses them and says they are Lakshmi. Rageshwari asks about their education. Riya says I have done graduation. Sharda Ji asks if they will study further. Teji says no, as all the time goes in housework. Prachi says I will bring tea for you. Riya says I will bring snacks. They both go from there. Riya tells Prachi that she did this to impress them and to get the points. Prachi says she touches the elders' feet, as we get their blessings, knowledge, experience and wisdom of them. Riya says I don't believe it. Prachi says when you touches anyone's feet then you will know. Sushma makes Pragya drink water and says you have faced so much and have won always. She says I am with you, don't get weak as you have to win from Gaurav. Gaurav comes there and asks do you still think that you can win from me? Sushma and Pragya gets up. Gaurav says you and your daughter can't harm me altogether. Sushma raises her hand to slap him. Gaurav holds her hand. Sushma gets angry. Gaurav asks what are you doing? You are doing the same thing after whatever I have done. He says I respect elders once. Pragya says why did you lie? We gave you a chance to change for better. He says I wanted to attack you at the place, where you will be very hurt, tells that he knows that woman's respect is like glass, once broken can't be repaired. Sushma asks him to leave. Gaurav says I will leave, and haven't come here to become your damned. He says she wanted to snatch my everything, but now she will not get anything, and will leave leaving her everything. He says I will not only take back my property, company and shares, but will also snatch your everything. He says I will get you banned here, then you take your remaining respect and leave from here. He says your bodyguard had raised hand on my brother and beaten me too. He says you hired him intentionally and got us beaten by a low-class man, so that our confidence breaks. He says we are partners, but you treated us as servants. He says Papa made my brother go out of office, and raised hand on me. He says start the reverse countdown, your company shares are going down, and asks what she will save you, her respect or company shares. He says if you lose your Indian business, but you will do it anywhere, but you will lost your respect. He says people will say that a character woman ruined a family and the women will try to save their husbands from you. He says I will do such a thing with you that you can't see your face in the mirror. He says you did a big mistake by thinking me as a small arrow, and says a small arrow hurts big. Pragya hears silently. Gaurav goes. Rageshwari Ji tells that she has brought bangles from Vaishno Devi for your Baris too. She sends Sharda to go and tells that she wants to stay in the temple, but has to return for the foundation. She says I wanted to retire from this foundation and asks Pallavi to handle the work of the foundation. He says we both have done the work foundation and tells that her Baris and Dida can handle home. Pallavi says it is a big responsibility. Rageshwari Ji says you can handle the responsibility. Prachi and Riya bring tea and snacks. Prachi gives tea to Regeshwari ji and says your driver must be outside, I will give him tea. Regeshwari praises Prachi and tells that you got a good Bahu, who doesn't differentiate between people. Prachi comes there. Regeshwari tells that she wants traditional baras, and tells that Prachi didn't follow my feet, but also fulfilled the tradition. She says she touched my feet and won my heart. Teji says even Ria does the same thing, today she is having pain in her legs. Ria says excuse me and goes. Prachi asks Regeshwari ji to sit and gives her tea. She goes to call Sharda. Pallavi gets impressed with her. Dida thinks Prachi will win Pallavi's heart. Gaurav, Alia and Tanu drink and he tells that Pragya couldn't speak. He asks if they said right whatever they told in conference. Alia says she don't want to make her important. Tanu says she doesn't hook up with anyone. He says she is my type and says I thought. Alia asks him to ruin Pragya else he himself will be ruined and shall work on his plan of action. He says there is news of me on every news channel, I will get sympathy and Pragya will get bad reputation and taunts. Gaurav telling Alia that everywhere on the news channels, his news is showing, he is getting sympathy and Pragya is getting bad words and it will be difficult for her to come out of house, she will be ruined and her share prices are getting low. Alia says we shall not leave her, we shall surround her from all four sides. She says we shall not leave her in court too and get her humiliated. Gaurav says I am impressed with you Alia and says to do such a clever thing, needs corrupt soul too with clever mind. He says small arrow makes a big hole. Alia and Tanu smirks. Sushma calls media to cover Pragya's side of story. She tells Pragya that they will do the press conference with good and educated journalists, not such journalists who were asking irrelevant questions. She says I wish Abby wouldn't have beaten the two brothers. Pragya asks why she is taking Abby's name. Sushma says Thappers have an eye on our business and thought we will never come to India. She says they always showed loss and not profit as it goes to their account. Pragya says Abby is not wrong, as he did the right thing. Abby looks at Pragya's pic and thinks she doesn't like him. He then thinks she liked when I helped her and said thank you too. He thinks she likes to come near me and likes to be near me. Pragya says he was helping me. Sushma says fight is not the solution of every problem. She says you was in office, and should have shouted for help. She says all the office employees would have come to rescue including Abby, but he had beaten Gaurav so much and took the matter personally and ruined the case. Pragya says he was just then lawyer Deshmukh comes there and tells Sushma that he read Gaurav's fur and tells that he wants to influence all the society against Madam, so that court verdict is also against her. Sushma tells Pragya that she will be back. Pragya recalls Sala's words asking her to fight back and not to bear and cry. Sharda brings prasad for the baras. Regeshwari gets up and is about to fall. Pallavi says she will call the doctor. Prachi asks Regeshwari to give her foot to her. Regeshwari says leave it. Ria asks Prachi to leave her, and obey her Jethani. Prachi twists Regeshwari ji's foot and makes it fine. Regeshwari ji says my pain is gone. Pallavi asks Regeshwari to sit. Regeshwari asks where did you learn this? Prachi says she learned from Ma. Regeshwari praises Prachi and tells that she is going to the meeting, and asks them to come to her house. Ria thinks she has to act and do something. Regeshwari ji asks Ria to distribute prasad to everyone and asks Prachi to keep the Suhag staff in the in-house temple. Ria gives prasad and gives to Prachi. Prachi asks did you give prasad to Soni? Ria says servants. Prachi says I will give and goes to give prasad to Soni. Ria gets angry and recalls Pallavi's words. She thinks if she can't win the race then she'll make the runner fall down. Tanu asks Alia what does Pragya have? Alia says mind. Tanu says money and even if Gaurav has. She says we are helping Gaurav against Pragya and he will get everything of Pragya when he wins the case, but what we will get? Alia says revenge. Tanu asks what is the market rate of revenge? She says we will make akar with it. Alia asks her to tell clearly. Tanu says we are helping Gaurav and we shall get something in return. Alia says he will give our share when he gets the money. Tanu asks where is the papers? Alia says he will give when the right time comes and asks her not to be greedy. Tanu says he said that his soul is corrupted and tells that she is not getting greedy. Alia calls Gaurav and asks when will he give money. Gaurav says we didn't talk about it. Alia says we have saved you from big problem and saved you from going to jail. He says you have saved me, but I never told you that I will give you money. He asks her not to forget that he is gold laying eggs for her. Alia asks for the money still. Gaurav gets angry and then thinks he shall befriend her until all the plan comes to an end. He says I don't have cash, I didn't talk to dad about it, so I can't take money from him. He says he will arrange the money and ends the call. Mitali overhears them. Abby comes home and asks who will not give the money. Mitali says the cheap guy, who will not give them money. She tells whatever she heard to Abby. Abby asks Mitali to say. Regeshwari tells Pallavi that she is very impressed with both Bharas, especially with Prachi. Pallavi says I am happy. Riya goes to side and throws her phone on the floor intentionally. She then says sorry, sits down and spills the oil on the floor. Teji and Riya smiles. Prachi comes there and steps on the oil and falls down on the table. All the teacups and water glasses fall on Regeshwari ji and Shada ji. She gets up and says sorry. Regeshwari gets up. Teji says she will clean her sari. Riya says I will do it and apologizes to Regeshwari ji on Prachi's behalf. Regeshwari ji says it's okay. Riya asks how will you go to the meeting now? Pallavi asks Prachi to answer. Dida says she didn't do it intentionally. Teji says she should have been careful. Prachi asks Regeshwari ji to change her sari. Teji says it will take time. Prachi says don't know how I fall and says sorry. Pallavi asks if her sari will become fine. Riya calls Sonny and asks her to bring hair dryer and talcum powder. Pallavi apologizes to Regeshwari ji. Teji says Prachi spoils 4 things, if she does 2 good things. She says I called her, but she didn't listen. Prachi says I didn't hear her. Regeshwari ji asks her not to scold Prachi. Teji says Prachi has to learn so much here and calls Sonny. Sonny brings talcum powder and hair dryer. Riya cleans the stain using powder and hair dryer. Teji praises Riya. Regeshwari thanks Riya. Shada ji says it is a good idea. Riya says few things have to be learnt ourselves. Teji asks Prachi to learn this, if she wants to make something fall on someone. Riya says Chachi is joking and asks Prachi to smile. Teji says even we have learnt good thing from Badi Bahu. Thanks for watching till the end, make sure you subscribe, and click on the notification bell, to get notified for more updates like this, like, comment and share. To change your